Hi guys, I hope everybody's okay. So today we are here at Gridserve at the world's first fully electric forecourt. And you may think, well, why is a tuning company getting involved in an electric forecourt? Well, I've owned this Zoe for, well, I've had this Zoe for nearly 2.5 weeks, and I've got it for another week and a half. And to be honest, I am genuinely impressed, and there's a reason why. Now, the cars themselves have come along so much now with the technology. I don't think range anxiety is a real problem. As I say, I've been driving this 200-mile range. I haven't really needed any more. What is a problem is potentially charging anxiety. And what we mean by that is, if you turn up to somewhere to charge your car, is there going to be someone else who's already on there for 30 minutes before you can get there? The speed of the charge, you know, how long it's going to take you and how long you're going to need to be waiting. So at the end of the day, we'd like to know what's happening and what the future holds. You know, by 2025, 2026, manufacturers are going to stop producing petrol and diesel cars, and it is all going to be electric by sort of 2030. There should be 30–40% all the vehicles on the road are going to be electric. So, as I say, we're here with Gridserve. We're going to find out what the future holds for potentially all of us. So let's go and find out. So, hi guys, here we are with Sam Clark. He is the Chief Vehicle Officer at Gridserve here. Thank you for spending your time with us today. It's really, like, I'm really excited about this interview. There's going to be so much information coming out of here that I personally probably didn't know. And especially the guys that are absolute petrol heads that follow us and are within our, you know, especially us tuning vehicles and stuff, probably don't have an idea. And I think pushing the future that is coming no matter what happens, and I think knowledge is power, as it's always been. I've had that Zoe sort of, you know, 2.5 weeks now, probably about another week and a half, and to be honest, that for a small car has converted to the point that I've now gone and purchased the vehicle. For me, the range is fine, it's not a problem. And I don't think range anxiety is much of an issue across the board now. Because if you say to someone, you know, you've got 200 miles or 300 miles, it's a normal tank of fuel. I mean, my M6, 260, 80 miles out of a £95 tank.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. And I found, you know, like £4.55 to fill that up. You know, it kind of all makes sense. But for me, it's as if I'm going to go somewhere. It's what I think is called now charge anxiety. Is there going to be a charger available? Is it going to be working? What speed is the charger, and how long am I going to have to wait? And is there going to be someone else? And this I think is where you guys come in. So, I mean, from your concept, what do you see the future of charge anxiety? Is that going to come down? Is that going to be something that can be addressed and relatively quickly for the adoption of electric cars?
Yeah, I think the anxiety phraseology is one that has a negative connotation, which we as an industry want to try and get away from. And as you said, range anxiety is diminishing all the time because the range of the vehicles are getting so much better. I think it was the chairman of VW who said his bladder range is about 200 miles anyway. so that would be the first thing to go. Not the range of his car.
So you're going to have to stop.
So yeah, and it's right to do so. It's healthy to do so. You know, we're all modern lives, going to bring a coffee, giving the kids run around time or whatever. So the range anxiety thing is diminishing, but charge anxiety does remain, and that's where we come in, and hopefully others with us that build in some of that comfort that just removes that negativity of that word, and it's just a functionality of travelling rather than something like, well, where am I going to charge? You know, place facilities like this one, you know, just obliterates any of that anxiety because of the functionality and the high-powered nature and the fact that we've got 36 chargers and all the other retail concessions that we're surrounded around here.
It's been amazing for me. I mean, I live in a house just up the road, so for me, this place is like 10 minutes away. So if I did need a quick charge, that's great. I mean, across the country, there obviously aren't going to be that possibility that someone from Scotland isn't going to come down here and use your service. So, no. I mean, what is the plan for the future for that side of things?
Well, a few things have happened at Gridserve lately, which is quite substantial. One is that we've acquired the electric highway, which is 85% of the service station network coverage.
And that's the current petrol stations?
That's the current service stations,
right,
yes,
okay.
on the MSAs, the motor service, motorway service areas.
Yeah.
So we've got that, as well as the electric forecourt here in Braintree, but we're going to build another 100 of these around the UK over the next 5 years as well.
So it's the same standard as this, same size, maybe bigger?
Yes, yeah, I mean they will all be slightly different because of the space and landscape.
And the geography that you've got around.
Exactly, but fundamentally the attributes of this site will be replicated across the country. So between those two things, which we are, as an umbrella brand now, calling all within our electric highway. So it's the Gridserve electric highway, to which the hubs at the service stations and these forecourts will form part of. But what that will enable is, again, going back to the whole charge anxiety thing, is we just want to get rid of that and provide a solution that gives people comfort when they're going on long journeys, that they've got a solution for that. Because most people will plug the charge at home.
Yeah.
Cars are only moving around 4% of the time. So if you do have off-street parking and you have the ability to charge from home, that is still the best place to do it. It's the most economical place to do it. But we're all going on journeys from time to time, and we need a solution for that.
We go on holiday.
Even if we only do very, very short journeys every week, and most of the time the car's sat doing nothing, we all want to know that when we do want to go on a long journey, there's a solution for that.
Yeah.
And that's that last little area of electrification. We just need to get people into the comfort zone of it not being a problem.
Yeah.
And places like this demonstrate that it won't be a problem.
No, I don't think it's too long to go before that becomes a general reality. I mean, I think you're probably talking about a 5-6 year plan to get to that point where there are 100, is it?
Yeah, we've got. Yeah, our plan is within the next 5 years. And the market's going to evolve dramatically over that time as well.
Huge.
Bloomberg have forecast that we'll have cost parity on the capital asset value of EV versus internal combustion engine by 2027.
Okay.
They're already cheaper to run now. I hasten to add, on a total cost of ownership model with a lease and taking into consideration the fuel costs, etc.
And servicing costs.
So EVs are already cheaper to run today.
Yeah.
But on an outright purchase basis, they think that cost parity by 2027. We've got a ban on petrol and diesel in 2030, and hybrids 5 years after that.
Manufacturers are stop even making them.
Yeah, exactly. So the market is evolving daily.
Yeah.
The supply of vehicles is increasing all of the time. So it's not an if, it's a when, and it's in the next year to 5 years where the transition of EVs is going to rocket. So we're going to go from 250,000 vehicles today on the road that are pure electric to potentially 20 million over the next 10 to 15 years. It's going to be a huge shift, and it's not just us, but it's the whole industry now needs to deliver a sustainable net zero energy infrastructure solution for all of those new drivers out there.
Well, this is what I wanted to touch on, the net zero. See, now for me, with petrol and diesel cars, there's always emissions regulations that come in that restrict the flow of exhaust gases, that restrict the vehicle itself from what you can buy from the manufacturer. And we've always been in the market where we'll remove those restrictions, right or wrong. Whether it's legal or not, that's up to the customer what they do on the road. However, we'll always remove those to the point that you get back the car that you should have potentially had. And I did a huge rant about why DPFs make me so angry. DPF is the diesel particulate filter.
Glad you pointed that out.
Yep. And they are absolutely horrific. And I did a huge post of why they do it, and I was going on about, even electric cars. See, this is before I was converting. Electric cars going, you're going to get the electricity from the main grid anyway. It's going to come from nuclear power or fossil fuel or something like that. And I was wrong, and I'm happy to say that I was wrong. Genuinely happy to say that I'm wrong. Now, I'm not a person that thinks about climate change as in the reason why we should do this. For various reasons, 150,000 years ago we had an ice cap and that's not there, and there wasn't a single car, and so all the ice caps melted back and there wasn't a car on the road. 250 million years ago.
Another conversation.
It was So there's reasons, but the cleanness, the quietness, the ease, the smoothness, the much better vehicles you get from having a flat floor really fundamentally make this a better thing. But I also learned that you have a solar farm, was it 4 miles away?
It's 44 miles.
It's 44 miles away, but it's been turned into a nature reserve where you put bees and different plants and different animals.
Yeah.
They don't care that there's solar panels in there. The grass still grows and everybody's still happy. But that solar panel, from direct sunlight, powers here, if I've got it right. You then can store that, so every piece of electricity, or every atom of electricity that's used here to charge vehicles comes directly from the sun. There's no cycle of anything, it comes directly from the sun, and you can store it here using old car batteries, or the older EV car batteries, and then you could actually supply the grid if they need it.
Yeah,
Is that right?
That's pretty much it. So 44 miles down the road, we own a solar farm, a 10 megawatt solar farm in Clay Hill.
Yeah.
So all of the energy we're generating from that is going into the grid, and then we're taking out of the grid to store in our batteries here. So that's because we can't have a solar farm in this particular location.
Yeah.
So the closest place that we do have one is there. So all of the energy is generated from the sun, goes into the grid, and then that's netted off with the energy we take off the grid to put into the batteries that we have here. We have 200 kilowatt peak solar array on the roof of the twin canopy outside as well,
Right.
which is happened to power the building.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, the energy, the solar energy that's coming off that solar farm is going through the grid and back into the batteries on site here. So we've got a 5 megawatt grid connection and 6 megawatt hours of battery.
I mean, that's pretty hefty.
In layman's terms, the 6 megawatt hours of batteries alone is the equivalent of being able to distribute 24,000 miles of driving energy at any given time. So we've got a huge amount of energy stored. It's all net zero. We can trade on that energy, so we use that to trade in and out of as and when is commercially viable for us to do so. But it also obviously distributes the energy, clean green energy, into the vehicles on site as and when it's required as well.
I mean, that is pretty epic. To be honest, that is pretty cool. I mean, there's me. I was ignorant previously, banging on about, we're going to get it. And fundamentally, you've changed a perception of what and how we store, gather, and use electricity.
Yeah, well, the traditional measure of emissions is well to wheel, as in oil well to the wheel of the car. So when you look at that in terms of digging up the oil, burning fuel to do that, taking it to refinery,
the energy used
using oil to do that, and then you transport it God knows where. To get to a petrol station where you then put it into a car and you burn it, and carcinogenic rubbish comes out the back, and you lose 80% of the energy you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas we've taken the same model on sun to wheel, so it's effectively the same thing. So instead of waiting 200 million years to recognise and burn that energy, we're taking it straight out of the sun on day one, putting that into batteries and then distributing that energy into cars. So we want to do that whole sun to wheel journey that says we're taking energy from sunlight, storing it in batteries, putting it into vehicles, and we also lease and sell vehicles too. So we've got the entire supply chain journey emission-free, net zero, and trying to cover all of those bases, or as many bases as we can.
I think that's what people need, especially if it's a one-stop shop. I know that sounds really tacky, but effectively that's what it is. It's a one-stop shop, and I think people need that to be able to have all the information to hand. I mean, there are other technologies like hydrogen power. You can go out and buy a hydrogen Honda, for example, right now. I mean, there's no way to fill the damn thing up. Well, I mean, there's a few bits and bobs, but there's not really that much. Do you see other fuel services like hydrogen and things like that? Do you see those as any competition, or is it that the infrastructure would be much more difficult to implement than it would be with what we've got already?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a competition because we're technology agnostic. Whatever is viable, providing it's net zero and it works, then we're happy to look at it.
Yeah.
Hydrogen is not something we're happy to look at the moment because the energy required to generate hydrogen in the first place,
and to store it,
and the infrastructure and lack of vehicles, etc. It's not an area that we're interested in exploring at the moment. If things change in the fullness of time, then we'll look at it. And there's lots of other things like induction charging as well that people are often mentioning. And we'll always look at different technologies, but at the moment the focus is on solar energy, electric vehicles, batteries, and delivering a solution for today.
Well, I mean, I suppose once the infrastructure's there, I mean, the energy's free. I mean, nobody pays for the sun, do you?
No, it takes a little bit of cost to harvest that energy, but yeah, it's ultimately an infinite energy source.
So I can imagine that there is going to be a profit coming back from once you've sort of covered all the initial outlay of costs and so on and so forth. There'll be a profit coming back. Will that then go back into the infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, to use your phrase earlier of one-stop shop, I mean, that's also predicated on the fact this is a working business that needs to make money. We've got investors that need to make money.
That is the way the world works.
Yeah, exactly. And therefore, by having that portfolio of revenue stats, revenue opportunities, that's how part of the commercial business case works, because we're generating revenue at various parts of the supply chain, and then as a collective, it's a viable business. Doing one in isolation, not necessarily, especially from a charging infrastructure point of view, we're not going to we don't want to recover the investment on this site at 24 pence a kilowatt hour alone. It takes all of the different revenue streams as a collective to make it stack up. And so that's there's a commercial reason as well as a sustainable reason to deliver that sort of end-to-end solution.
Well, I mean, I'll be 100% honest. I am a convertee, hence why I've got a bought one, and I am happy to say that I was ignorant previously, and I'm glad that just coming here has enticed me to go and do some research, go and find out, actually know what I'm talking about, and the fact that you're solar farm and things like that. So just being here has changed my option. Now that doesn't mean to say I don't like petrols. I love them. Our followers and the guys know, I'm just shy of sort of 1,000 brake M6, 4.4 bi-turbo V8. I mean, I'd turn that on, I'd probably kill the polar bear somewhere, just by having it running. So, but I think there's definitely a place for day to day, how you live your life day to day, is electric. I genuinely believe that that's coming. And then you can still have fun if you can have another car. I mean, now you say that a lot of people have second cars and things like that. Yes, currently they're quite expensive, and we ain't going to lie about that. Yes, they are quite expensive. That price will come down. I think with TVs and stuff, the TV I had at home was like 4 years ago, it was like £4 grand. I went and bought it for 800 quid. It's the same thing, if not potentially a bit better than what it was 4 years ago. And I think that's definitely going to happen with cars. As you want people to adopt them, it costs more to do. But I'm genuinely excited at the fact that if this is the future, which there's no real reason as to why not, because the government, it's being forced upon us whether we like it or not. So we may as well embrace it. And if this is the future, then yeah.
Well, I'm genuinely excited that you're excited because of your background. And I've spent years and years talking about EVs and in some respects preaching to the converted, because we're an audience of people that are already like-minded. And in the last few weeks alone, we've started to just break down those barriers a little bit, talking to people that are from a different sort of petrol-head environment or are understandably slightly more sceptic point of view. But the fact that we're having these conversations and we're starting to get that message across, that it is feasible, it is doable, it's better for the planet, it's better for you, it's better for your pocket. You start to put all these things together and people go, well, actually, maybe this isn't so bad.
Climate change aside, it's actually beneficial for you personally and your household and everything, and just your general life can genuinely improve, I think, through having an electric powered vehicle. And it's crazy. So,
and as you said before, it's great fun.
There's another video coming on the site. Honestly, stupidly, I like it. So, go to your nearest dealership, go and have a test drive of your car before you say it's not okay. I think, if you genuinely don't like it afterwards, great, everybody's different. But I think the dealerships are there for a reason. Go and have a test drive of something and let us know in the comments how you got on. And thank you very much indeed for your time, Sam. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been wonderful here. And this is a bit different, but keep watching, there'll be more to come.